Hi, I'm Will Bruin, and I was just recognized as a Seattle Sounders legend. Now I get to do voice reads for the Sounder at Heart podcast network.
Here we go. Come on! Hey, O'Shan! Let's go!
The Seattle Sounders have done it! MLS Cup winners!
Here comes Rui Diaz through the middle to crown it for Seattle!
The Sounders rule the region!
Seattle Sounders is campeón! All creatures great and small!
You know, what was the thought process in terms of who you decided to use and who you didn't?
Ever since Sounder at Heart wrote a commentary that we didn't take Old Cup seriously.
This episode of Nos Arietes is sponsored by Full Pull Wines, a Seattle-based wine retailer and proud sponsor of Nos Arietes since 2011. Full Pull was founded in 2009, is based in Seattle, and is owned and operated by longtime Sounders supporters. They offer the best boutique wines of the world to members of their mailing list, with special focus on their home, the Pacific Northwest. Welcome back to another episode of Nos Arietes on the Sounder at Heart podcast network. Today is Friday. We are here at the new Sounder at Heart office in the International District.
Yay.
I'm here with Niko Moreno, doing what we learned this week. Niko, what do you think of the new pretty empty, but what do you think of the new office?
Hey man, I love the office. I'm an ambiance guy. I am a view guy. Love the big windows, the natural light coming in, just feeding me, just vitamin D. I absolutely love it. I think it's a huge step. I'm proud of you, Jeremiah, and I can only just imagine the things that we could do here. So I'm excited. For the fans to at some point see it. Some of our guests to see
we
it.
start having guests here. We're gonna the ideas that we'll have some public events. We'll probably do some sort of like open house type thing. It's like kitty corner from Wajimaya. So if you know that area, you know it's not necessarily for the faint of heart, but
hey, some good food though. Wajimaya,
some great food.
That food court be hitting.
I know. We had a breakfast today. Sausage and egg and rice. Can't go wrong.
$5.99 shoe. Man.
Exactly.
We got to get us a
sponsorship from Wajimaya. Exactly.
Yes, good.
Exactly. So if you're involved with Wajimaya, please reach out and we'll get you all signed up. But anyway, so we got this has been a good week. I think there's a fair amount going on. Even though the Sounders are off in Spain right now, they transitioned from Portugal to Spain this week, I believe. What are you hearing from the guys over in Europe right now?
Mainly that the weather has not been ideal.
Yeah.
And that it's been wet.
They've alluded to that in their videos a few times.
Yeah, man. It seems like it just has not been the European vacation vibe. You know, I know that it's a training camp and everybody's there to work, but
no beach days.
No beach days. The weather, Kalani Costa Rienzi must be very upset.
Exactly.
He doesn't get to hit the waves nowhere.
I know. Although, some of these guys, they might be doing it anyway, but they're certainly not getting tans.
No, definitely not. But it sounds like the work has been there. Beyond the game, it seems like they're pretty positive about what they've been able to accomplish physically. There's been a couple of standouts. I'm hearing some great things about where Osasa de Rosario is at. It sounds like he's a guy that's, just been good right off the bat, both physically and soccer-wise. He's a guy that I continue to hear about. It's exciting to see that because, man, I feel like with Danny Musovski's year, everybody was under the impression that maybe he was going to be the go-to for goals. But if Osasa can, step up and both you and I have talked about, he's not a prospect, but he's a guy that could definitely sharpen and get better. Ooh, I mean, that's good things to hear.
And one of the things I love about Osase is that there is a swagger about him. There is a confidence. He has the build also. Like, you can see him put on some muscle this offseason. He is already a big guy. He's a big frame. You could see him really turning into sort of like a dominant physical force. And he looks, I've only seen him in training for a few days, obviously, but he looked so sharp. He looks motivated. He's someone who plays with a little bit of a, like I said, like a swagger, like a chip on his shoulder almost. And, he's not going to just sit there and be happy to be the third forward. He's going to want to get real minutes this year. And, between someone like him and Georgie, these are two guys that played, less than like 700, 500 minutes, somewhere in there. If they are up to 1,500 minutes and they're producing at the same rate that they're producing at, we just ran a story on Sounder at Heart about Georgie and the amount of danger that he produces in relatively short. It's almost like off the charts on a per 90-minute basis. He's like, there's a bunch of people in like the American Soccer Analysis Discord joking about how he sort of breaks the models because he overperforms on a per 90 basis so much. But you look at two guys like that, and that's a lot of potential upside right there. Absolutely.
And look, I don't want to get too deep into the rabbit hole when it comes to, look, I think we both have prefaced the season by saying the Sounders are not going to be having a lot of new pieces. There's not going to be a lot of movement. And I can absolutely understand where fans are frustrated by hearing that.
San Jose signed Timo Werner.
There you go. Timo Werner to San Jose. And Houston just got Bogats. And they've been pretty...
A lot of teams are active.
Absolutely.
There was just a thing that came out from FIFA that said that 8 of the top 10 spending teams in CONCACAF last year were from MLS. There's only 2 of the top 10 from Mexico. I mean, MLS is becoming a relatively high spending league, certainly by the CONCACAF standards, and the Sounders are out here not spending money.
Right. And that's, I'm always going to say it's a fair frustration, is a fair opinion to say, look, I wish that the team would do more. However, when I hear good things about Osasa, when I hear great things about Kalani, when people keep telling me that Snyder Burnell just seems to be a guy that's going to play the part as of right now, and there is this upside on these players. Look, if the team is building on continuity and is working and they hit the floor running and they win right off the bat because that's what they decided to focus on, I mean, it's hard to argue with it, right? So that's all I want to say, is that I do feel like everything that I'm hearing from the camp in Spain is that the team just seems very confident in what they could potentially do to start off the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I fully understand the frustrations that fans have. There is a undeniable reality that the Sounders are not spending money, especially in the transfer market, the way that virtually every other team in MLS is doing. But don't let that distract you from the reality that this is still a strong roster, and that in order to upgrade, the Sounders would have to spend a fair amount of money. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be trying to do that, but that is a reality. Today somebody signed a U22, trying to remember who it was, but you see these guys' resumes, and like this guy came from Ecuador, from Barcelona, and he had like 3 goals in 40 professional appearances. And it's like, this is a forward. This is what $2 million gets you on the market right now, which is to say it's all potential. And if I'm the Sounders, I can understand why they're not dying to spend that money.
Was it Bruno Caicedo for Whitecaps?
That sounds right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the Ecuadorian.
Yeah. So, that's what you can get for $2 million or whatever. I don't know exactly what they spent, but I would imagine it's in that neighborhood. And so I don't really blame the Sounders for not falling over themselves for spending on that. But what it does tell you is that for the Sounders to upgrade this roster, they should be spending money. Put that aside. I'm liking the way the roster looks. Like you can feel 2 ways. You can be frustrated that the Sounders aren't spending more money, and you can also objectively look at the roster and say, there's not a bunch of obvious holes in it, and there is some potential upside between Georgie and Dero and Brunel and this Petkovic, who we still have no real idea of what we're going to get out of him. But you kind of just go down the list, and there's a lot of guys here who have the potential to have breakout type of seasons. And I'm excited about it. The Sounders are going to showcase presumably some of that tomorrow when they play this Swedish team whose team name I'm not going to try to pronounce right now.
Me neither.
But they're playing a Swedish team tomorrow at 5 a.m. Hopefully we can find a stream of it somewhere. But I don't know. It's an interesting offseason right now. I do think, like, you're right. I think they are probably set up well to hit the ground running, to start strong. They're going to have a bunch of road games to begin the season. They're going to have Champions League in March. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It is no different than last year, right? I mean, I'm hearing all of this things about the team, and those people that were last year basically saying the Sounders had no business in Leagues Cup, that had to eat their own words because the team ended up being really good at some points. Now, that can go any other way because this team, as we've said before, is betting on the team being healthy, on players taking a second big steps and having a second big season like Jesus Ferreira and all these other components.
That's another good one.
But look, I do think that if the Sounders can continue to grow and fix some of those small things that ended up costing him points, some valuable points throughout the season, I can't sit here and deny that I think they're going to be a top 3, top 5 team if everything goes accordingly, if there's health. So again, not being apologetic about how things are working or the system that the Sounders use. You guys have heard me consistently say that I would love for this team to be able to spend a little more here, a lot more there. But at the same time, you got to kind of take it for what it is. So right now, to conclude, out of Europe, out of both the Portugal camp and Spain, I do feel like there is a good vibe about what's going to take place here next, to the point that, you know, we even had some news about Nouhou, and we can get onto that because I feel like the team is starting to understand that maybe they need to secure some guys moving forward in order to maybe later figure out where this roster is.
Yeah, so you had a nice report this week on Nouhou's contract status. It looks like he has signed an extension. We don't know exactly how long the extension was, but it's a sign that the Sounders are, you know, trying to keep pieces together. They're doing good housework. I think that's maybe a way of sort of keeping things tidy. They don't want to get into a situation where they are all of a sudden up against it. I don't know, anything in particular about the Nouhou deal that you want to expand on?
No, I think that it's a deal that is, it sounds like it's club friendly. It was more about giving a player the extension. It wasn't like he's getting this huge raise, according to what I hear, but it is about just giving him security, and you're giving yourself the ability to control the asset that is Nouhou. Because regardless of what people may think, hate, or love about Nouhou, this is a guy that the Sounders get a lot of phone calls on, and that's the reason why in Love and Scorchers, and when he put all those little emojis in the comment, he's a guy that's constantly, not necessarily in the trading block, but he is a guy that I'm always waiting for that call or that text. Oh, it's finally here. Nouhou's going to Pachuca, or he's going to Leon, or he's going to wherever, right? So that's the reason, because there is a lot of interest in the player physically, the dynamism, the things that he provides. He's only 28. He's a durable player. We don't talk about this enough. Nouhou's not a guy that is injury prone. He doesn't miss games. He just seems to be made out of steel.
He got malaria and he missed like a few weeks.
Right. His passport might get lost and he might not.
Yeah, exactly. You never know. You never know when he might miss a flight or something, but he's healthy. He stays healthy. He stays fit. There's a lot to like about Nouhou in those ways. And I think you're going to see a lot of these deals coming up. Another one that we've heard about, Alex Roldan, sounds like he is close to signing an extension. I suspect we're going to hear a lot of these sort of like relatively short extensions that just take guys into they kind of update their contracts for the new calendar. So, guys that are signed through 28, 29 as opposed to 2027, things like that. And, so but there's another one who we have heard the Sounders are working on, Danny Musovski, and it may be not quite as simple of a deal. Do you have anything to add on what's going on with Danny Musovski?
No. Before we talk about Danny, I do want to say that, Alex's deal was through 26 and he had an option for 27. I feel like the Sounders saw that as an opportunity to get him secured.
Okay.
So we don't know the details, but I'm guessing whether it's the 28, 29 season or whatever,
30, something like that.
That's what it would make some sort of sense. But I love the move because I do think that Alex Roldan is another guy that
terminally underrated,
very underrated, forever underrated. He's someone who just quietly comes in, and I guess people get frustrated that he doesn't put up these gaudy assist and goal numbers as a right back. But the reality is that you don't get guys who are as solid as him. Most teams have sort of rotating casts that go through their fullback positions, and that the Sounders have been so stable at fullback has been a real boon to them. And last year, one of the things 2 years ago that I pointed out several times is that they just did not get very much production out of their wide areas, and that included Nouhou and that included Alex Roldan. But last year, they got way more production out of their wide areas, including Nouhou, had a couple goals and a couple assists, and Alex Roldan had a few assists. He had one very big goal. You just kind of like to see that. I think he is someone who is a linchpin, really, of this team, who has never really gotten the credit that he deserves. He did make that All-Star team in 2021, but other than that, he's kind of been outside of Seattle. I don't think, even in Seattle, I don't know that he gets the appreciation that he deserves. I totally agree, and that's what I love about him, is that he doesn't face him. He's forever been underrated in his own family, right? I mean, I'm not saying that his family thought he was underrated.
No,
I'm just saying that he's like the other Roldan, right? He came in as the Seattle U guy, not the UW guy. You know what I mean?
He came in as Christian's little brother, and it was sort of this thing of like, well, they're only signing him because he's Christian's brother. And
he was cut, and then he came back, and then he earned it. Like, I like the grittiness, man, of a guy that's gonna come in and play center back for you. He's gonna play goalkeeper for you. He's gonna play midfield. Like Alex Roldan.
He's gonna step up and take a penalty in the biggest game that this team has played in 5 years.
I could sit here and tell you that I love his delivery on the ball, that I think that he reads the game excellent when it comes to his overlaps and underlaps. I can sit here and tell you that he can absolutely finish. When I see him in training, the guy can finish. He has all these qualities, but I stick with the grittiness, man. We're talking about, this part of town. If I'm walking around with maybe the exception of Yeimar and Nouhou that are just physically scary, I want Alex with me, because Alex, he's a guy that he gonna ride. I mean,
I will say this about Alex. I think he is the one who I would trust maybe the most on the entire team, where if I was in trouble, he would be there to have your back. Like, he does not, he is the one guy who I have no doubt is going to be there to back up anyone that he is. I mean, he's not afraid. I love Alex. I think Alex is in so many ways he's like the perfect Brian Schmetzer player.
Yeah, no, I agree. So that's why I love the deal. I'm glad that he has a new one. And now moving on to Danny Musovski, it does sound like there's obviously talks. There's obviously negotiations. We knew this going into the year.
Yes, this is last year. He's in the last year of his contract with the Sounders.
But we also, I think, had the foresight to know that anyone, you, I, our audience, that had a phenomenal last year at work, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, man, we need to redo this contract. You're going to ask for money, man. Yes. It's what's going to happen. So I think that one's going to be more complicated, because I do think that there are going to be some salary demands from Danny Musovski. Again, that's an opinion. I don't have any insight on it other than, their talks, and he's just not quite there.
He should ask for more money. Thank you for listening to the Sounder at Heart Podcast Network, which now includes No Sarietes, Lobbing Scorchers, and the Cooler Guild. Although this podcast is free, it's only made possible through our paid subscribers. Plans start as low as $30 a year and allow us to remain independent and mostly ad-free. Subscribers get access to all our written and podcast content, including a full-text RSS feed and a mostly ad-free podcast feed that includes every show in one spot. If you really like what we're doing, though, I'd encourage you to sign up at our higher tiers, which include all sorts of various perks. The most popular of those is our members-only Discord, where the real Sounders sickos hang out. I know I've called this group the smartest, funniest, and best-informed Sounders fans in the world, but it's more than the rough equivalent of a Sounders Mensa meeting. Discord is where we make things happen, like for real. You know the promotion the Sounders ran that offered fans the opportunity to trade in their Messi jersey for a Paul Rothrock one? That originated in our community. You'll not only be the first to know about stuff, but you also have a semi-direct line to the movers and shakers at the Sounders organization. If you want to be one of the totally normal people who occupy the Sounder at Heart Discord, just become a supporter of Sounder at Heart. Anyway, thanks for listening, and go Durs. No Sarietes, admittedly, is not exactly known for our spicy takes, but that doesn't mean we want our food to be mild. Spice up your life with Haxon Ferments. Handcrafted in Georgetown and made with the best local ingredients from across the Pacific Northwest, they specialize in unique small batch fermented hot sauces and vinegars. Haxon Ferments brings bold flavors and natural fermentation together for something truly special. Whether you're a heat seeker or just looking to elevate your cooking, you'll find something you love at haxonferments.com. That's HAXANFERMENTS.com. And right now, if you use the code SOUNDERATHEART, that's all one word, at checkout, you will get a free hot sauce with your order. Again, go to haxonferments.com, use the code SOUNDERATHEART at checkout for a free hot sauce with your order. Haxon Ferments is a proud sponsor of the Sounder at Heart Podcast Network. You know, the reality is that he had a phenomenal season last year. He scored 18 goals. And I think the Sounders would be crazy to give him, you know, a big contract. But he deserves a raise. He outplayed his contract last year. And he's in a position where he can. Like, if they don't come to a deal, he gets to go into free agency. I mean, that would be a risk for him. I think it would be a big risk for him to play out this whole year. But it's not one that he can now show that he has done this. He's going to have some interest if he goes into the free agent market. I mean, I tended to think that that the Sounders might try to move him and just sort of find someone who wants to bring him back on a long-term deal. But maybe that's the Sounders, and the Sounders sound like they want to try out these multiple forward formations. Why not bring him back? If you can get him back on a decent number, we'll see. You know, I would hope the Sounders don't go crazy, and I don't think they will. But we'll see. And
I think the better D-Rose does in this camps, the less leverage that he might have in that negotiation.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. So the other piece of news that came out this week, and I think it's an interesting one, the Sounders got out in front of this last night. They announced that the deal with Providence, or the front of shirt sponsorship with Providence, is going to end at the end of 2027. The way that will functionally work, I was able to find out, is that essentially they're going to have the shirt this year, and then they're going to have the front of shirt for the sprint season in 2027. And then in the 27-28 season, the Sounders are free to go get another sponsor for that year. But Providence is paying for 26 and 27. And then on top of that, Providence is also keeping their sponsorship of Long Acres. So that will continue to be known as the Providence Swedish Sounders Clubhouse and whatever. I don't really know what the name
Performance
is.
Center and Clubhouse.
There you go. So that's going to stay until 2033. But it's an interesting piece of news because this was originally a 10-year deal. So it was going to originally the whole thing was going to go through 2033. By the end of the contract, it was supposed to be paying the Sounders $10 million a year, supposedly. But it's annually in the high 7 figures. And so all indications I have are that Providence basically wanted to get out of the deal. Providence has been vocal about wanting to get out of the sports sponsorship business. They are, people I'm sure are shedding tears over losing Providence.
Oh, yeah.
But the Sounders get a chance to go back into the marketplace right after the 2026 World Cup and get a new front of shirt sponsor that presumably is paying even more money than Providence was, while still collecting at least, I mean, by the end of this, I think it's very safe to say the Sounders are still owed at least $10 million, if not more, from Providence when this deal ends in 2027. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for the Sounders. Now, I do think people have a lot of hopes that they're going to get a new sponsor who they love. I would not necessarily get your hopes up, because the reality is that the kind of companies who want to sponsor front of shirts for soccer teams usually are trying to do some PR, and it's not always because they're great companies.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I don't know if you can deny or confirm this, but I heard that Sounder Hart and Lavin Scorchers are in the negotiating table.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're have the Sounders come talk to our people, and we will maybe see what we can do about getting us plastered across the front of the shirt. But there's all kinds of it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I don't think this is a bad move from the Sounders. This is not. Let's be very clear. The Sounders did not initiate this. They did not necessarily want this to happen, but that does not mean that it's not a good thing for them ultimately. Like I said, though, I am just, the cynic in me is worried that we're going to end up with a company that people hate even more than Providence. I would even go so far to say that if Providence were signed up today, I don't know that people would be as upset about it as they were a couple years ago, because the political climate just seems like it's so much worse that it's like, okay, Providence sucks, but there's so many worse companies out there. I don't know.
And look, there isn't much that I have to say on it, because I know that at the end of the day, it's going to be about the money, the perks, all of the things that are on the operation side.
Right.
The only thing I want is for it to look cool, man. Ever since Xbox, we've not had a cool.
We got spoiled.
Yeah, man. And look, I'm not even an Xbox guy. I'm born and raised PS all day. I mean, I'm PlayStation through and through. Yeah. But that was a cool thing. I mean, Xbox was cool. Tight. And then we went Sue Lily, and then the Providence. I mean,
I know.
I just want something that looks nice, man. Right. I don't care if it's El Rinconcito, but I want it to just look dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's a few companies out there that would certainly look dope, but whatever. We'll see how that goes. The other thing that is going on, we may as well update. We don't really have a great update, but it's worth talking about again. Is the Obed Vargas situation. There was a rumor that came out this week that said Lazio of Serie A was in for 15 million euros. For Obed Vargas. I'll tell you right now, I have not been able to confirm that is total bullshit, but I will tell you that no one else other than Football Italia, I believe was the website that reported this, has reported on it. I do not give this much credence at all. I mean, if the Sounders got a $15 million bid for Obed, he would be on the plane right now.
I mean, he's in Spain. I mean, he'll take a train. He'll be right there. They'll just let him they'll ship his bags and all his stuff.
No, we got you.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll UPS it. So, no, it really is an outlandish number. I will say that. I cannot deny or confirm, because I have not gotten confirmation about it. I could tell you it's not 15 million. I mean, just out of common sense,
there's no way someone's paying 15 million for
absolutely
Obed
right. So I could see interest from Serie A. I think that there's a lot of teams in Serie A, Juventus, AC Milan, Udinese, Lazio, that not just have ties with people here around MLS, but they also have been very open about going and getting talent, American talent and talent from MLS. So it would make some sort of sense. But be mindful. and filter your information, because every day I wake up to a different new rumor about Obed. The funniest one this morning was there are 5 teams in 5 different leagues that are interested in Obed Vargas. I was like, man, can you just condense it a little bit? Just make me believe it a little bit more, right?
Right.
So that's what's going to be the rumor mill. The reality is that
I mean, we're in the crunch time. This is like the next couple days. If
Exactly.
a deal doesn't happen, then it's not happening.
Exactly. That's the reality. That's all you should know, is that if you're going to be on full on Obed look and just zero down, I'm going to just be filtering Google every other second. It's going to be this week. But I could also say that as of 3 days ago, or 2 days ago, Wednesday, there was nothing on the table. There was no offer on the table for him. So if there is interest and there's something new that comes about, I will remind people that, it has to be Obed, club, and his agency that are going to have to come into terms and figure out what's best or not. So it's a slow process. So to me, it would have to be a very good offer, and from a team that's willing to take him on right away in this late in the season for some European teams. So yeah.
And I will say the thing that's interesting about this is, we've been hearing this. I've heard this so many times. People have said, well, there's no way that Obed would, in a normal situation, why would Obed take a deal when he's going to be a free agent in a year? Well, Alex Freeman is in the almost exact same situation as Obed Vargas was. He was going into the last year of his contract. He had a lot of interest, and Orlando City worked out a deal to send him to Villarreal, where they're going to get something like $6 million up front, I believe.
Yep.
And they have another like $4 million that they could get. And then they'll have a sell on. The Sounders would fall over themselves if they could get anything like that for Obed.
If that number would have been $6 million, I might have even looked into it a little bit more than I did.
Right.
To that rumor.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like that's a perfect number.
It does.
And people should definitely look at this Alex Freeman situation, and everything about it has a lot of similarities. Maybe not exactly. Because I know for a fact that Freeman and Orlando City as a club, they are pretty much on the same page when it comes to moving and all these things. Where on the other side, it seems like Obed and his camp and the Sounders, they see things very different.
Right. It definitely seems like Obed and his camp have just made a decision about how they want to conduct his future, and Orlando and Alex Freeman had a different understanding.
Yeah, but it was the same situation in the fact that in 11 months, Alex would have been a free agent.
Right.
That he's a excellent young talent. That the team was going to have to spend money just to keep him, regardless of that he kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And although Obed didn't come out of nowhere, he's obviously a academy prospect. They're going to have to figure out how to replace him. Alex Freeman.
That is a real challenge. I mean, Alex Freeman was probably the best fullback in MLS last year from a statistical perspective. He impacted the game in way like he's not going to be easy to replace. There is, it is funny because we have to sort of remind ourselves that, especially when we're talking about Obed Vargas, I feel like we sometimes get lost in this idea that it's all about the transfer fee and that his performance on the field is almost secondary. Like whatever he can provide to the Sounders on the field is of secondary to what the potential transfer fee is. And I do think that we sometimes get lost in that because it's important to remember Obed Vargas has helped deliver 2 titles to the Sounders. He will if he is here this year, I don't want to sound like I'm being naive. The Sounders would love to transfer him because they would love to get some money out of this deal. I think if anything, they would probably be willing to transfer him for a much, much lower fee as long as they had a sell-on percentage. But that's not him staying here is not worth nothing. He is a very good player. He is poised, like the latest reports out of Mexico are that he is maybe even in like strong position to make the World Cup. He could help the Sounders immensely. And if he were to leave, that is going to leave a hole. I think Hassani Dotson is probably a good, as good of a backup option as you're going to get. But having him around is very useful.
No, of course. And it's not just useful, but it keeps your ceiling high. I mean, the potential on Obed having an even better season than last year is greatly. What he does offensively is something that I can't look at the grouping right now and say these guys are going to be able to have an even better season than Obed in this part of the field. And so there is a lot of things that are going to be important to figure out as the Sounders organization if he ends up going. But right now, I guess best case scenario for the Sounders would be if they're not able to sell him in this transfer window, it's going to be just going for it all this season,
right,
and hoping that he gets you a title.
Absolutely. And I mean, Obed's a great player. I mean, I don't know. I don't quite know how. I do think this is all played out in a way that I wouldn't have foreseen coming, because it feels like Obed is a loyal guy who wants to sort of do right by people who do right by him. And I can see why this doesn't always feel that way. But I also can appreciate that he's doing what he feels is best for his career. And I don't begrudge him that at all.
I wish that we heard more from his camp.
I do too.
That is something that I really be wanting to do, is hear from his camp. Because look, Obed is going to be Obed. He's focused on the task at hand, which is being the best player he can be and putting the Sounders in the best position to win this year. But we've heard from the club. I wish that we would hear from his camp and
I know.
And what are those obstacles? What is it that's holding things up?
Right.
What is it that they would like to see or not see? So that's the only thing that has been a little bit frustrating in that regard, is that there hasn't been anybody from Obed's camp that has really gone out there and just said, "Hey, this is what's going on."
Right. I know. So Obed's people, please feel free to reach out.
That's right.
Niko, you have Niko's number.
Yep.
Niko would be more than happy to talk to you, and we can get your guys' side of the story on this thing.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. I think the audience would love that.
So a little bit of housekeeping around the Sounder at Heart world. We have the magazine coming out. We actually did the final proof the final proof before it goes to the printer and we get a physical copy. And then that's actually the final proof. We did that last night. So that's happening. We're closing in on 1,200 pre-sold copies of this magazine. It has gone really well. We are going to keep selling it. We are going to order more than we have pre-orders because we think there's going to be demand once people see this thing. I am thrilled with the job that Lickett has done laying it out. We had some amazing writers contributed to this thing. G. Willow Wilson, Tim Foss, Susie Rance, Catalina Bush, and Charlie Boehm have all contributed articles to this. There's a crossword puzzle. There's rosters for both the Sounders and Reign. There is a schedule that you can pull out that will be for actually the Reign, Sounders, and Defiance all in one place. So there's a lot of good little things in this magazine. Like I said, we have this new studio space that we are getting into now that we will hopefully be able to start sharing with folks. And then me and Noah are going off to Spain on Monday.
Ooh, I like that.
Going to Spain on Monday. We're going to do it. The final piece for the magazine is an interview with Brian Schmetzer. Noah's going to take some photographs of him. I'm going to interview him, and we're going to
Brian shoot. Brian shoot.
A Brian photo shoot.
I like that.
Maybe get him in a Panama hat.
Ooh, there we go.
Tommy Bahamas.
Hey.
Fun stuff. But yeah, I think we're lining up for a pretty big year in the world of Sounder at Heart. Big year for Nos Audietes. Big year in the world of partnering with Niko Moreno. Excited to show the people what we got here.
Yeah, ideas keep coming. I do, and I'm very confident that this is going to be one of the bigger years when it comes to the entire, partnership and everything that you guys have done. And I can only be thankful for you to make me a part of it. And yeah, man, it's
we're
going to
see
be interesting.
More Niko Moreno, hearing more Niko Moreno this year.
That's right. Some people are going to be like, man, I'm out. No, but it is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to what you guys get down there in Spain. You know, the exclusive content, but more importantly, is the underground. You know, analysts just being there, seeing what the guys are at. I really hope that there's a stream tomorrow for this game.
I hope so,
because we just missed that. We missed that ability to see the games.
I have, you know, I will say, without giving away too much, I think at the very least we'll be able to watch one of those games in Spain, one way or the other. I think we'll, and at the worst case, you'll have a first-person account of those games because Noah and I will be there watching them. But I think there's going to be, my suspicion is that those games will be available to be seen by folks. You know, so hopefully that ends up coming to fruition. But Niko, I think that's it. I think that's the show. I'm trying to think if there was any other things that we wanted to address. I guess I could write these things down if I was smart.
I don't know. I like it when it's like this. When you're in an environment like this studio, this vibe, you know, was just, you know,
little pitter patter of rain. On
absolutely,
the
man. Absolutely. This is exactly what it's all about. And I think, you know, the fans enjoy that little bit of news.
Winding down.
That's right. Just bringing it more down to earth, you know.
All right. Well, with that said, let's get out of here. Niko, I am Jeremiah Shan. Niko Moreno, you can, of course, follow on Blue Sky, El Rolo NW. He is on Soccer Down Here. He's still doing his Lobbing Scorchers hits. By the way, Lobbing Scorchers is going to be doing a lot more video from the space. Well, that's pretty exciting. Who knows? Maybe Sounder Heart will get our video act together and start doing some more video too. But it's been great doing this with you, Niko. I'm excited for 2026. With that said, let's get out of here. This is No Sadietes, part of the Sounder Heart Podcast Network, and we'll catch you next time.
Let's go, Sounders.